Welcome to Professor on Your Side, the podcast where we connect the journey from high school to higher ed and everything in between. I'm Dr. Tramontano, educator, mom, and lifelong advocate for students finding their path. Today, I'm excited to launch my very first episode with a topic that's really close to my heart. It's all about helping diverse learners, students with IEPs, 504 plans, ADHD, dyslexia, or other unique learning profiles navigate the college application process with clarity, confidence, and connection. So, whether you're a parent supporting a teen, an educator guiding families, or if you're a student taking a leap for yourself, this conversation is for you. Each fall, thousands of students begin applying to college. For diverse learners, the season often feels like juggling a dozen moving parts, whether it's essays, applications, testing, figuring out accommodations, and to be honest, and I felt this myself, self-doubt as well. I had major imposter syndrome. For families, it can feel like learning a completely new language, whether it's navigating the jargon of colleges or advocating for services, and also just decoding what schools really mean by support, because each school is different. Here's the truth. Applying to college isn't just about getting in. It's about finding the right environment where your student can belong, be understood, and truly thrive. So today, let's take the overwhelm out of the equation and talk about how to approach this season with strategy, calm, and confidence. Let me tell you a little bit about my own journey with my son. When my own son first started college, I thought I had it all figured out. And I bought the best shower caddies. I bought him about 25 pillows. I still joke about it all the time. Like, what was I thinking? When we moved him in, I didn't even know where to put all the extra towels that I bought. It was ridiculous. I realized really quickly into that first semester that there were other things I should have attended to other than just the surface level of getting my kid ready for college, understanding how to manage his LMS, managing his assignments, doing more of the executive functioning support, making sure he was ready with accommodations, plans, all these other things. Also, even just a communication plan for us when he was coming back from college. There were so many little things that I just didn't realize were a thing until they became a thing. Here are a few recommendations that I have right away. Let's ground this in action. I want to give you 5 essential things that families often overlook, and they can make all the difference. Number 1, know the timeline. So every district and college has its own application windows. So write those down early and use a shared calendar so everyone stays on track. 2, update your documents. So before you apply, request the latest copy of your child's IEP or 504 plan, and you'll need it when discussing accommodations later. Also going to pause and say, make sure well in advance you schedule your child's annual pediatrician visit so that it doesn't become an issue as they're going off to college and need to have certain immunization records on hand. I want you to ask each college about the supports they have for diverse learners and how it's delivered. What kinds of services are offered? Are there any additional tutoring programs? What do office hours look like? Are there peer tutoring experiences? During tours, look beyond the glossy brochures. I always say look under the hood. When you visit colleges, watch how students interact with staff. Do they seem relaxed, included, confident? Do you see students going to office hours? Do you see them in the library working together? And you also want to empower with self-advocacy. Have your student write a short statement about what helps them learn best. Could be bullet pointed or they could dictate it. Think about this for building ownership, but also those are the same skills they're going to carry into college. I truly believe that small steps now can save a lot of stress later. I always talk about how a pebble in your shoe can stop you from walking. How can parents, teachers, and counselors work together to make this process smoother? Let's start with parents. You know your child better than anyone, so you're going to lead with their strengths. So try asking, my child thrives with hands-on learning. What opportunities do you offer? When you go on tours, ask those kinds of questions because those kinds of questions open doors. For educators, our role is to help translate the system, make sure our family understands terms like tiered services or office hours. We want to build that trust. And for students listening, this is your journey. Remember, this is your journey. And ask what clubs, supports, or majors fit your interest. And we are truly living in a time of comparison culture. We've always known about this phrase, keeping up with the Joneses. Social media has made things even more complex, but I don't want you to chase prestige, chase fit. The right school isn't the most famous one. It's where you will feel safe, seen, and supported. What success looks like for you may be different than what success looks like for another student. We want to think about what works for you, not what will work for others. And to be honest, it's not always about the name. Really look at all the schools. Even when applying, it's never too early to think about transition planning. For diverse learners, transition planning is not just a document. It's a roadmap for life after high school. So here's what to focus on, and here's what I recommend. Academic readiness, review course requirements, and assure accommodations are working now. Post-secondary goals. I want you to really help work with your team to identify that align with your students' strengths, whether it's college, training, or career. And now's the time to work on those independent skills. So start practicing time management, budgeting, and self-organization. I want to really stress that this is very important. Why is it important? Because students need to gain all those independent skills. How is this going to manifest itself? Well, have a high school senior fill out more forms by themselves, whether they're applying for a job or they're at the doctor's office. Be there to guide them, but they're going to have to fill out forms on their own, giving them those opportunities to build those muscles. It's going to be really important. Have them also schedule their next doctor's appointment or psychiatrist's appointment. Have them take a little bit more of that independence, because when they're in college, you're not going to be there as closely to do those things, and you want them to start building those independent skills. Budgeting. Does your child know how much they may be spending on food apps? I did a recent audit myself, looked at how much I was spending at Starbucks, and decided I had to put myself on a budget. It's really easy to spend a lot of money very quickly when the apps are just right there and so convenient, right? But when your child is off at college and maybe on a budget, things can get out of control very quickly. So now is the time. And also help your child with self-organization. I'll be talking about this throughout my podcast because I think this is a really big one. But try to start taking inventory of what self-organization looks like and what areas might be better and what we could do to improve things. And then self-advocacy. Encourage your team to describe their learning needs in their own words. Once college begins, parents can't automatically access records under FERPA, so I just want to flag this for you, okay? You want to teach your child about emailing professors, requesting help, and keeping documents organized. It is a life skill, and it's so important. In order for you to gain access under FERPA, your child will have to fill out a form giving you access once they start college. It's really important to be aware of that now and to help them understand that transition planning is about equipping, not rescuing. Let's put the pieces in place now to raise confident self-advocates, because we don't want our students overwhelmed. We want them confident. Now, I want to talk a little bit about understanding college disability services. The truth is that not all colleges are the same. When students with learning differences move from high school to college, one of the biggest shifts is how disability services work. So I want to unpack some of those changes, and we're going to start first with the laws. High schools fall under IDEA, which ensures special education and parent involvement. So I want to just put this out there right now. And then colleges follow Section 504 and ADA, which guarantee equal access, but not necessarily individualized instruction. Some colleges do more, but I just want to put that out there. The second piece is that students do take the lead. Students have to register with the Disability Services Office themselves. If they had an IEP in high school, it doesn't automatically get transferred to college. They have to register with the Disability Office, provide documentation, and initiate it. The documentation rules do differ. Some colleges may require testing within the last 3 years. Some may be more flexible. So you want to check their website. You want to call. In my experience working with colleges, I have found that disability services are incredibly helpful. Check their website and contact if you have questions. And there are no case managers at the college level. Students work with a disability services coordinator who prepares accommodation letters for professors, no diagnosis details usually, just what support is allowed. Support widely varies by college. Some colleges offer full coaching and executive function programs. Others keep it more basic, and that's why visiting or calling the Disability Services Office early is key. Parents step back a little bit while students step up. So FERPA means the student owns their records. They choose whether to share that information. Practice those self-advocacy skills now. We want the students to become comfortable in high school, emailing their teachers, scheduling appointments, speaking up for what works, right? That's really important. But this is also a really important opportunity to have a conversation because I've personally and professionally noticed that sometimes students resist support. And what does this mean? One of the hardest moments I see both as an educator and as a mom is when a student who's had an IEP or 504 in high school doesn't want to register for support in college. And they may say, I don't want special treatment, or I think I'm fine now. And I get that. After years of being labeled or having to explain themselves, many students just want a fresh start. But here's the thing, accommodations aren't about labeling. They're about leveling. They're tools, not crutches, and they're part of taking ownership of your learning and setting yourself up for success. If you're a parent, educator, or student listening, let's talk about how to approach that hesitation in a supportive way. First, reframe the conversation. We don't want to focus on what's wrong. We want to emphasize on what's strong. You might say you've worked really hard to understand how you learn best, and these tools help you keep doing that. Research shows that when students connect accommodations to their strengths and self-determination, they're more likely to use them confidently. Second, take the mystery out of the process. A lot of students don't apply for services simply because they don't understand how it works, or they worry about stigma. The truth is, college disability offices are confidential. Students decide what to disclose and when. You don't have to tell every professor, but having that documentation in place gives you options when you need them. It's about choice and control, not about being singled out. This one has worked the best for me. It's the framing it as a trial run. Think of it as a safety net for your first semester. You can register now, try the supports, and see what actually helps. If you don't need them later, you can always scale back. That mindset reduces pressure and puts the student in the driver's seat. Many students may realize after the first round of exams that they're grateful it was there. College moves so fast, it's always easier to have supports ready than to scramble later. So whether you're a parent encouraging your student or student finding your footing, remember, self-advocacy is not about special treatment. It's about asking for the right conditions to know what you're capable of. And that's what this whole transition is about. Knowing yourself, using your voice, and giving yourself the best chance to thrive. So in short, accommodations are about access. Students, not parents, drive the process. But before we close, 3 big takeaways for us to hold on to. We have to lead with strengths. Your student's learning style is a strength, not a limitation. Start early. We want to build that transition mindset even before senior year if we can. And connect, don't compare. The best outcomes come from authentic relationships, not rankings. We want to avoid comparing ourselves to others because we are responsible for our own learning, right? And if this episode resonated with you, please share it with a family or educator walking the same path, because every student deserves the chance to thrive and every family deserves clear, empowering guidance. Thank you so much for joining me on my first episode of Professor on Your Side. Follow me on Instagram at Professor on Your Side. And next time, we'll explore executive function and organizational skills, the real-life tools that help students thrive through transition. And until then, keep connecting, keep learning, and remember, college success starts with connection.